This girl ain't spending $129 on colored powder. It's just Hello, welcome to today's video. I'm super excited because we are going to be talking about all of my palettes. I'm going to have a little palette declutter, and let's be honest, I'm not actually going to declutter hardly anything, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of my entire eyeshadow palette collection and inventory because I have accumulated a few more palettes here. It's becoming a problem, so I need to make sure that I'm not buying any more palettes because I have plenty. So I'm going to go through each one, talk about them, talk about why I like them, and basically give a tiny 30-second review on each one if I can. So let's just start off. I've got a little stack here, and I also have a little stack here. So let's get into this. But first, coffee. Okay, so I have my Tarte Be a Mermaid and Make Waves palette. This was one of my first palettes, and oh my gosh, I love this palette. It's got the most beautiful shimmers, and this is like one of my favorite palettes. It really is, and I know it's like childish and super like girly, I guess, but mostly childish, but I don't care. I love it. This is a pleather material, and it's just a really nice quality palette, and it's from Tarte. It's just a really nice palette. It's one of my favorite palettes. It was limited edition, but it's a very inspiring palette to me. I think the shimmers in this palette is literally one of the best shimmer formulas that I own out of all of my eyeshadows. I don't own all the eyeshadows, but I own a lot, you know, enough to know that I really feel like that these shimmers are really good quality. Next, let's talk about these three. I've got my It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop. I've talked about this quite a lot recently. It's one of my favorite new palettes that I got for my birthday. I got the Fame palette that I also picked up for my birthday, and it is a very nice cool toned gray neutral palette. I have a Supernova palette by Bad Habit, and this is actually a dupe for the Natasha Denona Lila palette, and as you can tell, I've used this a lot. I've actually used these three shades here, I've used this color a lot, and I've used this color a lot. I mean, I really liked this palette. I haven't really featured it on my channel much, but I have enjoyed it. Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes, if you don't know, are $129 for one palette, and so this was a dupe, a color dupe, not necessarily a formula dupe, but a color dupe for a very expensive high quality palette. This girl ain't spending $129 on colored powder. It's just not happening. This is a great palette, and I really think it's a good quality palette. It's a little bit powdery, but it's really not bad. Probably one of my favorite palettes, let's be honest. Okay, then I want to talk about, let's go through this stack here. I've got my e.l.f. palette here. This is the Rose Gold Nude palette, and I really like it because it's all cool tone almost. It's a great travel palette, and I'd like to feature this in a travel get ready with me kind of video, but I have not done that yet, so maybe I will do that next time I go to my parents or somewhere where I'm traveling and show you my travel bag. And I usually always take this with me because it's so tiny. It's got great shades for me, it's got some shimmers in it, and it's just one of my favorite travel palettes. Then I've got my Arabesque palette that I've talked quite a bit on my channel here. I've used it quite a bit. You can tell I have a lot of I have a lot of use in a lot of these shadows, and it's one of my favorite palettes. Although I will say that this palette is very powdery, and this is a Bad Habit palette, and so is this one. But this one I almost think is a better quality than this one because this is so powdery. It's just, I never realized how powdery this was until I started using other palettes, and I found out, wow, in comparison, this is like a terribly powdery palette, and I almost don't use it too much anymore because it's so powdery. But I still love it. We aren't getting rid of it. And then I've got my Ace Beauty purple palette. As you guys know, I like purple, so here is a very cool tone purple palette that I have a lot of use for. You can get some natural neutral looks, and you can get some wild looks. So it's a very versatile palette in my opinion, even though when you look at it, it's like, how is that versatile? But great palette. Then I've got my Urban Decay Born to Run palette, and it's a beautiful palette. It's probably It's one of my favorite palettes, and I've used it quite a bit. You can see when you can see the reflection of just like me dipping into it and stuff. And this is, I almost consider this a fall palette. When I grab for this palette, I almost always come out with a warm-toned, orangey kind of look. And I have these in the corner, but there's not a lot of transition colors. It's not a cool tone palette. It's a warm tone palette. So I don't find that I can make a cohesive look with cool tones. I can make a very cohesive look with the warm tones, but not so much with the cool tones. So this is a very nice palette. I consider it a fall palette. And another palette is, this is the Lorac Pro 3 palette, and it's a really, really nice neutral palette. This is a beautiful palette. It looks a little neutral, maybe a little boring to some, maybe perfect for others. I'm going to do a beginner video, like a beginner's guide kind of video maybe, using this palette because it is such a beautiful neutral palette. It's my favorite neutral palette. Like, I think it's a really good palette, and I've not featured it on my channel because I got it recently for my birthday, but I've been using it along with my ColourPop, my wild ColourPop palettes, but I still think that this is a really great palette. This used to be a really big deal, but it's kind of like gotten pushed under the radar, and I just think that it still needs to be talked about because it's such a good palette. Then I have this Hourglass. This is a face palette. It actually doesn't have any eyeshadows, but I keep it in my eyeshadow drawer because it's a big palette that doesn't fit very well in my little organizer. So, see here, you've got 2 setting powders, you've got a highlighter, you've got a bronzer, you got 2 blushes. It's a very expensive palette. I did not end up buying this off of the Hourglass website because it's like $80 and it's a bit too much for me, but I ended up buying this on Mercari, which is an app that you can download and buy, sell, and trade. And I think it's a good app, so I found this for a decent price, and I've been enjoying this. This is a vegan, cruelty-free brand, and they also don't use talc as their main ingredient. Actually, this is a talc-free palette, which is a pretty big deal because almost every single powder you find on the market will have talc in it. Might feature this in a video, we'll see. I'm still a little undecided on how I feel about it because I like it a lot one minute and then I'll use it again and I'm like, oh, it's not as good as I thought it was, and so I'm still playing with it, honestly, and I've had it for months. Maybe not the best sign, but I will say the highlighter in this palette is amazing. And I'm sorry if it's too blinding. This packaging is very reflective and it's a pretty rose gold, but it's super like reflective with these lights. So I'm sorry if it's really distracting. Then I've got these 2 things. I've got this Stila Magnificent Eyes Shimmer and Glow, and I really, really like this. It's a beautiful purple color, and I actually can pair it with this, and it's like one nice purple color, and then I can pair it with all of my neutral colors. So it's a really good little duo thing here that I can take with me on trips. I find a basic look that is signature to me. And then I've got this Revlon single, which I'm actually going to be decluttering because it's kind of dried out and I don't use this. It got shoved to the back of my drawer and I kind of forgot about it, so oops. Bye-bye. And then lastly, I've got magnetic Z palettes I used to put in my eyebrow. This I punched out of the Jaclyn Hill palette, and so both of these I did, and I used to use them fairly often. Now I don't touch them much at all. And this is a Physicians Formula blush that I punched out in Vintage Rouge or something like that. I don't use it at all anymore, just simply because I'm trying to use my Wet n Wild blush. Then I've got this Tarte magnetic palette, and it's a really nice palette. It's huge. Look at this. Oh no! Great, look at me. Ugh. Okay, so you just got to witness me dump a bunch of bronzer onto the floor. I don't know if it's clear or not, but I'm going to be getting rid of that. Give me a second. I'm going to clean this up and I'll be right back. I'm back. Here's my empty pan that had Physicians Formula bronzer in it. But to be honest, it was a dark bronzer that I never used because it was way too dark for me. I just popped it out of that little limited edition box that they had a while back. I don't know what I was going to do with it. Like, I was never going to wear it. I thought maybe I was going to be one day be dark enough, tan enough in order to wear a dark bronzer like that, but it was never gonna happen. What I did was I actually took all of the pans that I depotted out of here, and I have this as an empty little Z palette, and I put them all in here. So I'm gonna go through each one of them very briefly just to kind of let you know what I have. This is an Ofra one that I got in an Ipsy bag. Ooh, and I like it. It's very gold and shimmery, but it's a bit warm toned, but I still like it. These three are also from the Physicians Formula box that I punched out because the box was very bulky, so I didn't really like having that around. This is a highlighter, this is a highlighter, this is a blush that I showed earlier was in here. And I like the blush a lot, and this is a gray eyeshadow, and this is also kind of a fun little eyeshadow. I don't really use them as highlighters because they're just too much. Now I've got all of these round ones here are all from the Jaclyn Hill palette, including these two. The square one came from another palette, and it's like a really nifty green thing that I think is a unique color to my collection, so I kind of punched it out and kept it. All these others are from the Jaclyn Hill palette, and the reason why I punched these out of the Jaclyn Hill palette, because I wouldn't use about 80% of the palette. It's all warm tones almost, and they were all shades that I just knew I would never use. So I didn't want to keep a huge palette around and kind of have it in the way just for a few shadows, so that's why I punched all of my favorites out. This one, and this one, and this one were all in the corner. These two are the highlighter shades. This is one of the cooler toned, pinkier shades that I actually use it as a highlighter when I do wear it, and it's a really nice formula. It's a really nice color. But it is very similar to this Master Chrome highlighter. I will actually do a swatch side by side so you can see. So this one is the Jaclyn Hill color, and then this one is my Maybelline Master Chrome. They're just similar, as you can tell. It makes me want to even put it up against the Becca Rose Quartz highlighter to see what the differences are, because they're all pink highlighters, like they're all pink highlighting shades. So what's the difference, you know? Okay, there they all are. This is the Becca one, this is the Master Chrome one, and then this is Jaclyn Hill. So they're all fairly similar. The Jaclyn Hill one is probably the most reflective and the most cool toned, and then these two are warmer tone, but they're all pink shimmery highlighters, and I clearly have a bunch of them in my collection. So something that I had in mind when I kept some of these was I could put them in my Z palette and take this palette and have so many different things. So for instance, give me a second. I can build my own. So this is just an example. This is not necessarily put in a concise color order that I would prefer, but what I really like about this is you can customize different shadows and take them with you. So this one I would have in my brow, this is my inner corner, these are transition colors, and they're very staple colors, and I would just take it on the go. And this is a highlighter, you know, like I have my highlighter, and if I wanted I could take this blush like I had in at the beginning of the video. I could have this blush in here, and I could just have like my blush and my highlighter all in here with my transition shades that were very basic, and then I could kind of have everything in one place instead of taking a bunch of small things. So that was the idea why I initially wanted to have single shadows. But to be honest, I don't really use that system too much, but I still have it as an option, and playing with these kind of gives me more of a inspiration to do that more now. It's fun to play, and of course you can buy single shadows. You don't have to punch them out of existing shadow palettes, but you can buy single ones that are magnetic. It's a really fun way to play with different things and not have to buy a brand new palette. Important in my arsenal. That pretty much wraps up my eyeshadow palettes and my one face palette. I only decluttered one thing, and then I ended up dropping this, so decluttered two things. That pretty much wraps up this video. If you missed my other declutter videos, I'm going to have them linked below and in the cards above. But this is a really fun series for me to just kind of go through every single piece of my makeup collection and kind of do a makeup inventory and look at each thing and say, does this spark joy? Is this something that I like? Is it useful? Because having extra clutter in my life, usually it just crowds my mind, and when I have things that are very specific to what I need and what I use, then I can function better. And I think that it's just really important to have a very clean, concise collection. Even though to some this will be a large collection and to others it won't be such a big collection, I thought it would be fun to just bring you along and show you my makeup inventory, the things that I'm getting rid of. And this is the box of things that I'm getting rid of. This was a lot of just random things that either didn't work for me or are empties or are things that I just don't use anymore. Some of this stuff I'm going to be giving to friends, and some of it I'm going to be throwing away. So this is my box that I got from Target. It's, oh no, my highlighters. Anyway, this is my box and I have organized it. Let me turn you around so you can kind of get a better idea of what I've got in here and how I organized it, because I love this box. It's super awesome. So this is my box all organized. So here I've got my bronzers and my face mist. I've got my tools basically in here. Got like, I should probably put this brush over here because it will go with my flat bookie and just kind of be in my tool section. See what I mean by this being difficult to store? Like, it's just kind of weird. Anyway, and then I've got my extra things here, like things I'm not using. It's in the back part of this organizer here. My mascaras that I haven't opened yet, and my blushes and highlighter and powder. So I'm going to have that there. Then here I've got my powders that I use on the daily. I've got all these, my loose powders and my pressed foundation powder, and then I've got my CeraVe sunscreen, my Light Illusion foundation along with my healthy foundation, and then I put this in here because it is a foundation. It's a mineral foundation, and then my cushion foundation. I thought those fit there nicely. And then I have my primer. So this is my little face one, and then I've got all of my lip things in here. And I would kind of like to find another organizer, a way to organize these, because they like to fall over and it's kind of bothers me, but that's what I have for now. And then I keep my brushes in this big Flawless Ray Dunn container that I really love. It's a great little cup for my brushes. It feels luxe. I kind of love it. And then I bought this at Target, and I just basically have all of my little things that are longer, that just fit in this cup. And my eye brushes here. By the way, this is a picture of Allie Glines. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, and she's just she's goals. Like, I really look up to her. I won some face masks one time from her channel, and she's just someone that I really respect and look up to. So I have her picture sitting here, and I look at her pretty much every day when I'm doing my makeup, and she brings a lot of joy to my life. And I think that kind of helps with the whole KonMari method, because it brings me joy. And all of this stuff, if I'm feeling down, a lot of times I come and just do my makeup, and it brings me joy. I like it. It's an out for me. It's a way for me to be artistic and to make myself feel a little better about myself. And it's not something that let me turn this. I want to be clear that with all of my makeup, it might seem like a large collection, but with all my makeup, I don't ever use this as a way to cover anything up or to hide from anything, because I like myself the way I am. And I think that's an important message, I think, because a lot of people are insecure about their skin, and it's a really big deal, so they cover up. And as you can tell, I have fairly clear skin, so it's not something that I've struggled with. It's not something that I feel like is a problem in my life. I feel for the people that do. I don't ever want to have someone feel like that to use this product, you'll have clear skin like mine, because I was just blessed with good skin, I think, and I am very appreciative of that. Thank you, Lord. But I do this for fun. I do this because it is an artistic outlet for me, and it's something that I like working with colors. I like learning about how things work together, how different ingredients work together, and why people would formulate a certain product with a certain ingredient or not. And I love color theory. I think it's really interesting to me. And so this is, I don't ever want, my makeup channel to feel like that you need to cover up your face or you're ugly, because you're beautiful the way you are. Even the imperfections are a beautiful thing, because it makes you unique, and it makes you, and a lot of people, they like you, they like freckles, they like certain things about you because it makes you you. For the things that you can't change, sometimes that's honestly like the best thing, because it makes you unique, it makes you you, and it doesn't take away from who you are as a person. It actually adds to who you are. And if you can rock it, if you can be like, yeah, this is me, and not be ashamed of anything about yourself, then I think that you have won. That's when you have won. It's an important message, in my opinion, and I haven't stressed it enough on my channel. I remember one time I was talking to a friend, and she was like, you have the perfect eyes for eyeshadow. And I thought to myself, what? Because every time I looked at a tutorial, I would see girls say things like, put this in your crease. And I'm like, my crease? Like, I don't have a crease. My eyes aren't shaped at all the way that most Caucasian eyes are. And those are the people that I'm surrounded by. I'm mostly surrounded by Caucasians. And so for me to do makeup, it's always been a lot different, even when following tutorials. And I started following Asian tutorials because I was like, well, obviously my eye shape is different than everyone else's. And for someone to say you have the perfect eye shape in order to put eyeshadow on, I was very flattered. But it was interesting because in my head, I was like, I don't really have that great of eye shape for that. But that's why each person needs to rock their own self. They need to rock the way that they are, and the way and who they are, and just be okay with it. Most people don't pay attention to the little things that you find to be something to be insecure about. I think that people put more emphasis on it than they should, and just be okay with who you are, and work on yourself. I think it's important to work on your character more than it is to work on your face because the life that's inside of you will come out more than if you're actually beautiful or not, because you could be the ugliest person in the world but be a very beautiful human being because you're such a good person. And a lot of girls are really pretty girls, but they're dumber than a box of rocks. And to find that balance of how to find the balance of being able to play with makeup and find the beauty in makeup, but not let it rule your world and be like you can't leave the house without your makeup on. And I think that it's more important to work on your inner self than it is to work on your external self, even though I probably haven't stressed that enough on my channel. So that is pretty much all that I wanted to talk about. I know that I kind of went into a lot there, didn't mean to do that, but I thought it was important after thinking about it, and I hope that you guys enjoy my content and that you will come back for more. I do a lot. I basically do makeup lifestyle videos. I'm excited because I'm going to start opening up and talking about my inner thoughts, I think. I think that's important to me, and it's going to be something that will help me grow as a person. So, that is all for today. I am glad that you guys stopped in. I hope that you will come back for more, and much love to all of you. Mwah. I also have my, my finger, what am I saying? Finger? What? And I also have my, wow, I can't think, what is this called? Nail polish. Wow. Wow. This is how I am. This is an example of how I am every day. I can't think of simple words like nail polish, but I can tell you all about really detailed things. I don't know. I don't understand my brain sometimes. I want to